reminder, some of you know this, but some of you don't, and I'll probably mention at least once during the class because I have a knee injury, so I am doing things a little differently. For example, I'm sitting asymmetrically because I have one knee that it actually will bend pretty far, but I'm not supposed to for now until we can sort it out a little bit more. But the good news is I'm going to suggest that you guys start lying down so you don't have to worry about your knees. But before you get there, before you come to lying down, make sure you have at least have a blanket to put under your head. You might not need it. It is not required. Have either a yoga block or two to put under your back. We're going to do some active bridging, and then we're going to do a restorative bridge. You can also use a small folded towel, but we get to the pose, I'll show you more options you can use for bypassing a block, and also have a yoga strap if you have one. I don't even have my yoga strap because all my props are packed where I use them for a class that I taught. So one of my husband's old ties also works. So just take something that works as a strap, place that by your side, make sure you have water nearby if your throat is dry, blanket handy, and then I'm going to stay seated, but you're going to come to lying down. And if you fall asleep right from the start, that's fine. It's very chilly here in New York. I just felt like something is flying around in here. There's something weird flying around in here. It's chilly and it's busy holiday. So if you just want to really chill and do a little less, please do that. But lying down, make sure you're comfortable. So you don't have to be completely flat. You can have some padding under your head, as I mentioned before. You can lie out just to kind of get your body baseline with your arms by your side, palms up, and your legs kind of splayed out. But if you get on the mat and you're like, no way, my back is not going to tolerate my legs being straight, bend them and put your feet on your mat. So once you get there, just take a few moments to get yourself comfortable enough so that you don't have to fix or fuss. And then just bring your awareness to your breath and take a few breaths there. If you are talking a lot today or talking fast as I do, it's sometimes too fast when I teach, you might find you're a little short of breath. So without forcing anything, just let your breath roll in and out. If you like, you can do a cleansing breath, which is in through your nose and out through your mouth. It's like a big sigh. And you might find that if you do a cleansing breath or two, or do them periodically throughout a stressful day, it does kind of remind you to relax your shoulders and shake off the burdens that you're carrying there. And I don't just mean the bags that we carry that create physical weight, but also our worries. So if you're still comfortable on your back, just check in and notice if there's any area that maybe you need to be either a little extra careful of, or maybe an area that's irritated that maybe will benefit from some of the things I had planned. Do notice your upper back. Notice how your upper back meets the mat. Do you feel the width of your shoulder girdle in the back? Or do you feel that most of the weight is on your shoulder blades? This is an assessment that's used in the MELT method, but it's really good for yoga too. So notice if you feel more like bony connection rather than a nice broad upper back. And also while you're lying down, before we get to any of our asana, notice if your low back curve feels excessive. Notice that as well. And take another breath or two. And then we'll start with some bridging. So when you're ready, I'm going to join you also. So those of you who need to see me do it, most of you probably, or maybe none of you do, come to lying on your mat. You don't need support under your head. I use support when I teach on Zoom. It's less likely that my earpiece will fall out, and also I can see the screen a little better. And have handy either one yoga block, there we go, or two yoga blocks. I'll show you how to use it later. Or what also works, this isn't even an official yoga blanket, it's just a beach towel, or a folded up blanket. It's almost as high as a block. You can see it's lower, but it's not completely different. So don't feel ever that you need to have yoga props do yoga, especially in this class. You can make a lot of modifications. So come to lying down with whatever prop you have handy. Having said that, of course, I put mine out of reach. And set your feet parallel and bring them really close together. This you'll see in a number of poses, like you see my foot straying out here. That's because it's really difficult for me to keep my leg in a big bend. So if you see something that looks weird, don't imitate it. It's not like a new technique. It's just an adaptation to the injury. So bring your inner feet pretty close together, your feet down. Bare feet will give you more contact on your mat. And draw your thighs energetically toward each other. Of course, my sock won't come off. That's embarrassing. Draw your thighs energetically toward each other. I don't think this sock wants to come off. I'm just going to leave it on. So just pause here and notice if you were lying on your mat with your legs out straight, how bending them and placing your feet on the mat, just doing that, might have changed how your back meets the mat. It might have made your low back curve a little calmer. We're going to start with some active bridging, and bridge is a mild back bend. So first, take your arms by your side in a right angle. Plug those upper arm bones down so they're not just hanging out in space. They're not just there. You're energetically pulling them down. They're pretty close to your body, and your fingertips are energized toward the ceiling. And then see if you could feel some width in your collarbones. So your ankles could be just in front of your knees. If you have knee injuries, you could be a little wider out. Do what's right for you, but hug the thighs in toward each other. Now lift your hips so you're barely up. So looks like my hips are down, but they're just like the back of my leggings are touching the mat. So you get a little bit up in the air and then tuck. Bring your pubic bone toward your pelvis, and then press your arms down. Keep your head relaxed and lift up into your first bridge. And you might find when your legs are this close that you don't really get up into what you feel is your usual bridge. And that's fine. Nice work for the glutes. So keep a little zest in the glutes, especially the part of your bottom that is right above the thighs. And then come down and move your feet. You can keep your heels together. Actually, do it the other way. Keep your big toes together. Take your heels out and then let your toes catch up. So now your feet might be at the width where they usually are when you do bridge. You can keep the same arm movement, which I call robot arms. This is not the traditional bridge arms. So if you know what that is and you'd rather do the traditional bridge arms, do that. I'll show you that quickly on the next one. And then press your feet down. If you have a block, and for this you need something firm, you can place it in between your thighs and hug it to ensure that your knees don't wobble out to the side. That could be useful. So plug your arms down, press your feet down, outer edges, inner edges, lift up into bridge. Do a little tuck of your pelvis. Make sure your head is relaxed and take a breath or two here. If you need to come down right away, come down right away. Don't force yourself into the biggest bridge, but see if you can float your hips higher and open up the front of your hip creases more. Make sure your neck is perfectly comfortable. And then when you're ready, lower down. Take your feet tiny bit wider, not as wide as the outer edge of your mat, because I want to do 4 different widths. So just take them out a little bit wider. And let me just show you quickly the usual arms, which you probably know. So normally for bridge, we have our arms down by our side. So turn the palms to face your hips. So the outer edge of your pinky is down. Notice the broadness of your collarbone. Now roll the arms so the palms are facing up. That draws the shoulder blades a little closer to each other. Keep that action in your upper back and your upper arms, or from your elbow crease to your fingertips, turn that part down. Then when you're ready, you can also do the right angle robot arms if you prefer. Press your feet down without letting your knees buckle out or in. Lift up into bridge again. Now you can lift up and lower down if you like. You can inhale up and exhale down. But if you lift up and it feels okay to maintain the lift, As long as you're not straining, maintain that. And think about your knees going toward your toes as your pubic bone comes toward your nose. Neck is comfortable. Just a little pro tip. If you don't need blankets under your head, don't put them there because it could actually irritate your neck. As I said, when I'm doing bridge normally, I don't put blankets under my head. And then when you're ready, lower down. Take a breath here. And finally, move your feet as wide as your yoga mat. So you have two options on the arms, the robot arms, which I find just gives me a lot of lift, more so than the regular arms. But your regular arms, and if you remember, when you come into bridge, if you're doing the arms the traditional way, you can also bring the arms toward each other to get more opening in the chest. I'll do that on this version. So arms are down, externally rotate, internally rotate, from elbow to finger, scoop the pelvis a little bit, take a little tuck, float up a little bit on this one. So your butt is barely off the floor. So just as kind of a nice thing, just kind of sway your hips a little bit back and forth, like a swing. Might not even be able to see that I'm doing that, but if you're lying down looking at the ceiling, you're not looking at me, which is good. Then come back to center, push down into your arms, and lift up a little bit more. So here, if you have the straight arms, you could draw them underneath you and clasp your hands if you like that. It's not good if you have an injured finger. And I'm going to bring my feet a little closer to my butt to get a little more buoyant. And again, you could inhale here, exhale, come down, and inhale up and exhale down a few times. Or if you are comfortable maintaining the pose, maintain the pose. Or just take a few breaths here. You feel like you're shaking out of control, or if your belly really paunches up and you're losing a little core control, come down right away. You could tap your lower glutes to make sure they're working. And then finally calm down. Let your bottom go completely soft. And just start doing a very gentle windshield wiper twist, tipping your knees from one side to another. Not the furthest distance you could go to the floor. Start slow. We have a usurper. Albus has joined us, my kitty cat. Hopefully, last time he was in the class, he was so distracting. So hopefully he'll behave, right, buddy? So just take your knees back and forth from side to side. Really easy, easy. And then bring them back to center. Now that you worked to create all those bridges, let's see how it feels to do a supported bridge. Me boring you already? So I talked before about having either one or two yoga blocks or a blanket. And I'm going to show you a few different versions of this. Most, if not all of you, might not see it at all, but I just want to make sure. So if you use a yoga block, you set it horizontally. Think of it as a table on which you're going to rest the bowl of your beautiful pelvis. And of course, Albus is right in the way. But lift up your hips and you place the block underneath you. You want to make sure, and I've had in my life very experienced yogis who took class with me a lot, and they're wonderful people, but a lot of them still needed to be reminded of this. You reach your hands underneath you on your side of the block, you should be able to feel your entire low back curve. Your low back curve should be on the head side of your yoga block, and even a little bit of the start of your pelvis. I have a lot of flesh back there, so it's hard for me to feel it, but I have just an idea of when it's in the right spot, and I'm sure many of you don't have all that flesh, so you could feel that. So if you take your feet up just a little bit and you feel the ridge of the block digging into your back, it's not in the right place. If you don't have a block, you can do the same thing with a folded blanket. And the nice thing about a folded blanket is nothing's going to be digging into you, right? I don't know. Albus was offended. He left. Feels like something is burning in here. I haven't had the heat on in here in a while, so maybe he didn't like that. So here too, this is going to be a little smaller and comfier. So again, you would just lift up and slide the blanket underneath, give it a little tug to make sure it's even. And now you're on something soft. It might not be as high. And if you have two yoga blocks, I don't recommend stacking them on top of each other. That would be torture. Two yoga blocks, just make a wider platform for your hips. So if your hips are broad, there's more surface for them to lie on. So I'll just show you that one quickly. Hopefully you're already in bridge and you're totally vegging and feeling yummy. With this one, you take the blocks vertically, press them to your feet, lift up, scoop them under, make sure your top isn't caught in between them because that can throw it off. And there you go. And then once you get settled, relax your belly. If you have another blanket handy, because we're just going to relax here and make it a restorative bridge, you might want to cover yourself or just take a blanket across the width of your abdomen. That could feel really nice. And if your legs feel jumpy, you can just tip the knees toward each other if that works. If you're not supposed to bend your knees a whole lot, you could take your feet out further. So we spent a bit of time exploring our back and the way it met the floor. We did a suggestion of a twist, a very simple twist, taking our knees back and forth from side to side. And now we're doing a restorative bridge where the prop does the work. We don't get to our maximum height in this pose, nor do we get the big stretch in the front of the thighs or in front of the hips, but we do get a little bit of the back bend and a little lift and broadness in the chest. So take a few breaths here. If you have something underneath you like yoga blocks that after a while feels too hard, come out sooner rather than later. I'm going to give us maybe another minute here. Relax your shoulders down. You can take your arms anywhere you like. By your side, palms up is good. And just let your head be heavy, bowling ball heavy, your shoulders soft. Let your worries slide off your shoulders. And know that even though this is a very simple pose and you're using props, you're still offering not only the benefit of the back bend, which includes opening in the chest, but restorative poses, all yoga really, but restorative poses are especially good at redirecting the energy of your nervous system from the active, more fight or flight kind of response to the healing response, the relaxation response. So I'll be quiet for half a minute so you can enjoy a little silence. Of course, you could turn off your volume also. Remember, come out sooner if you need to, and just rest with your hips on the floor. Remember when you're ready to come out, and I'm going to come out now so I can reset for the next activity. When you are ready to come out, remember you're going to press into your feet and lift up off the props, calm down, and just rest your inner knees together. So take time to allow your body to reset. And you can stay covered with the blanket if that was useful or not. Have your props handy. You might use them for something. And then after you've rested for a few moments, just want to check my cat wasn't there so I don't kick him. Stretch out your legs again, like you did at the beginning of class, and notice if your upper back feels different. So if you felt very lifting in the back and not much of it was touching, or if your shoulder blades were digging in, you might notice the mid-rib wall is more down there, which is a nice thing. And then bend your knees. And in the beginning, we just did the swaying twist. We didn't hold the twist. So start doing a windshield wiper. Hopefully we won't have to do too much windshield wiping this holiday season. We'll have good weather, but it is what it is, right? I hate that expression. So just tip the knees a little bit back and forth, very slow. And then if you'd like to hold the twist, if that's comfortable, let your knees come to the side. And you could just have them hanging out there, but you have all these props. So if you want to make the twist more yummy, you could ball up, let's say, a blanket or towel under one thigh. So you have one outer thigh and the back leg would have an inner thigh, and you could place a blanket or a block underneath the inner thigh. Turn your head whatever way you turned your knees. If you turned your knees to the right, shift your torso a little bit further to the right, so more of your back is down. Ideally, it's not just the right side of your back, but the spine and some of the left side of your back. And turn your head slowly to the left. Don't force that turn. Let the legs be relaxed, the head heavy, the jaw soft. Take a few breaths here. Twist on the first side. One more breath here. And then very lazy, bring your knees back up, your heels and your feet flat to the floor. Move your props because you're going to need to go the other way. And then take your knees in the other direction, whatever that might be. And you don't have to prop your legs. In fact, if you want a bigger twist, you could do a bind. You could anchor one leg down with the other. And the leg that's higher, you have to bring the prop closer to your butt, I find, to be comfortable if you need that. And again, make sure as much of your back and spine is down. And if your knees are to the left, turn your head to the right. If your knees are to the right on the second side, turn your head to the left. Take your arms in any comfortable position. Out to the side. If you're too close to a hot radiator, you don't want to do that. You can rest on your belly button, on your belly, and just close your eyes. Take 3 breaths here. You don't have to count. When you're ready, bring your knees back to center, rolling over the outer and inner edges of your foot. Remove any props just off to the side and just rest on your back for a moment. We're going to make our way up to sitting. So ease over to one side when you're ready. Make sure that you come up nice and slowly. And then you may want to put a blanket underneath your bottom. You don't have to, but get yourself comfortable. And if you like, come to a cross-legged position. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I can't really cross my legs fully. So I have this, my legs are doing 2 different things because my knees are doing 2 different things. Come to a cross-legged position and make sure you're sitting comfortably. And then also sit nice and tall. Feel the width of your chest. It might feel extra nice after that work we did. And soften your shoulders and reach your arms out long so that your fingertips are down, not your palms. So depending on the length of your arms, that's going to dictate where your fingers are going to be. But make sure, even though you have an energetic reach, we're not letting our arms just kind of hang. We're reaching. We have to do a little action to keep them in this kind of shape. So we're like an A-frame. But this is a nice little lengthening technique. Again, from the Melt Method. I think I have to plug them, meltmethod.com. This is a little technique from Melt, which I love. So it Shouldn't hurt. It's not a stretch. It doesn't hurt, but it might feel like a little bit pulling, like there's a pull somewhere along your arms. So now from here, we're going to take a twist on both sides, starting with a twist to the right. Turn your palms up. And as you inhale, bring your arms up if it's comfortable. If you have a shoulder injury, like my injury, you might have a shoulder injury. You might want to keep your arms down. You can keep them at your heart center. Inhale a little bit of air. And as you exhale, twist to the right, staying in your upper chest and your shoulder girdle to create that twist, and then lower your arms down. The back arm comes behind you. The front arm might come to the opposite leg, but it depends on the length of your arms. You might be on the same side leg. That's okay. Where the arms are isn't important. What's important is that we're helping to lubricate the spine by keeping it moving in all directions, and we don't necessarily twist that much during the day, although we do need to twist when we're driving, but sometimes it's not quite as smooth and delicious as when we twist in yoga. Make sure both sitting bones are down, that you're not putting more weight on your right sitting bone. And take 2 more breaths here if you're comfortable. Always come out of the poses sooner if your body is saying you're not happy. It's not happy. You might be happy, but your body might not be happy. And when you're ready to release the twist, you can float your arms up if you like, or you can keep them low. And then stretch your arms down again with the fingertips down, but the shoulders relaxed, collarbones broad. Now, whatever position your legs are in, change it up. If you're doing a cross-legged seat, or what I'm doing, a sort of cross-legged seat, put the other leg in front. So it's really good to not always do the dominant leg in front. We're going to twist to the second side. So you can keep your arms low if you prefer, or take them up, energize your fingertips up toward the ceiling, or maybe to the corners of the room if your arms are wide. Inhale here, and as you exhale, spin your shoulder girdle to the second side, to your left, and let your arms come down. Don't strive to get your arms in a certain place. I see that a lot. People are just reaching with their arms. Let the arms just support the twist that your body came into naturally. Now, whenever we twist to one side, the other side tends to tense up. So if it did, you could just relax it, or maybe you have to turn to look toward that side and tell that opposite leg to relax, and that sitting bone to be weighted. Sitting bones are weighted, spine is long, and there's I almost said a revolution, nice revolution going on in your spine, a nice one. And make sure you're not forcing your neck to turn any more than it feels that it should be. Let your neck be where it can be easily. Take 1 or 2 more breaths here. Come out of the twist sooner if you need to. And then as you inhale, float your arms up, unwind your spine, stretch your arms out wide, unwind your legs, take them out, maybe your feet a little wider than your hips, and just kind of make any movement you like. You can circle your ankles if you like. You can point and flex the toes, but just you can bring the toes toward each other and away. I think it's so funny. I watched this video that I couldn't get my socks off. I'm actually supposed to because of my knee. And some of you may have had this experience. They like you not to be barefoot and not to be on hard floors or mats. But we are going to come to standing, and I just am going to cheat. I don't like to be on my mat with socks. So instead of doing cat-cow on the floor, which you can do if you prefer, I'm just going to have us come to standing for just a few movements. They'll still be gentle. So make your way up to standing. I'm going to come up through downward facing dog because I don't want to do table. So you can come to table first. So if you have an injured knee, you sit sideways so your knees are not on the ground. You place your hands down. You're going to use your outer edge of your one foot, the inner edge of the other, and then you lift your tushy up, and then you lift your tushy up more and unwind, and that's how to come up from the floor without being on your knees. And then when you're ready, after trying that kind of goofy thing, come up to standing. And just like we noticed at the beginning of class how we felt We were on our mat as the baseline. Now stand on your mat as the baseline. Let your arms drip to your side and soften your shoulders and notice how you feel standing upright. Good. Set your feet roughly parallel, inner hip bone distance apart. You don't have to turn to the side. I'm just doing that in case anyone who watches this video wants to see what I'm talking about in terms of a straight spine. Let's see, start with your arms. Let's start with your hands on your hips. Inhale here, and as you exhale, fold forward. Hip creases move back, and make sure that there's weight on all of your foot, not just the toes, or the mound of the feet. When you're folding forward, there should be some weight on your heels. And try and keep your spine long and not overly arched. And just come to a comfortable forward bend. See if you can resist rounding. I mean, you don't have to, but just for the purposes, we're not doing a whole lot of forward bending. It's going to stay with a long spine. Take a breath here. Belly has to come in a little bit against gravity, at least mine does. And then when you're ready, inhale, take the arms out and up if you have the room, and draw your hands together at the heart. Let's do that again. Feet are a few inches apart. If you have really tight hamstrings, you can always bring your feet a little wider. Inhale, exhale, release your arms. This time, if you like, reach your arms up. If it feels okay for your feet, lift your heels up so you're on your toes and your forefoot. It's sort of a good way to strengthen the ankles. Firm your glutes, set your gaze. I'm wobbling all over the place, which I'm told is coming more from my knees than my ankles. And then when you're ready, drop your heels gently, swan dive forward back into Ardha Uttanasana, half forward bend. Half forward bend, technically, your belly is parallel to the floor, but your forward bend might be here. It might be here. It may be parallel to the floor. Just make sure that you have weight on all parts of your foot, the forefoot. Make sure your toes aren't gripping the mat. You want your heels down, outer edges of the feet, inner edges of your feet. Lengthen your spine nice and long. I'm going to lift my low back a little. It was a little too arched. Inhale here and come up a fraction from wherever you are. And exhale, come to where you were a moment ago or a little lower. Inhale. Lift your collarbones up and forward. So you are taking a little standing back bend here. And as you exhale, lengthen your spine forward again. No overarching in the back. Maybe you come down a little lower, but don't feel you have to. And then one more time. Inhale, draw your heart center forward. So it's almost like a standing version of the cow part of the cat-cow. And as you exhale, sink further into your forward bend if you can. If you want to, you can bring your feet a little wider and you can let your spine pour like a waterfall out of your hips if that works for you. I do have many students who have vertigo issues, especially this time of year, and bringing their head lower than the hips doesn't work. So just find what forward bend that works for you and take a few breaths there. Try not to let your arms dangle. Have them either on your thighs, your hips, your legs, on your mat. You can, if you're in a pretty big forward bend, you can clasp your elbows so your arms just aren't dangling. If they dangle, just so you know that rounds your upper back sometimes excessively. So there's a reason for everything. Oh, it feels good. And then when you're ready, slowly come up. You can drag your arms up your legs, so you can reverse your swan dive, come back up to standing, and then just come to where you started, just standing up, and notice if you feel just a little bit taller from those standing forward bends. And while we're here, I'm going to offer you just one more standing pose with an extra piece to it. And again, if you want to be more mellow, I don't always do standing poses in this class. So if you want to be more mellow, you could just chill on the mat. But otherwise, we're going to do some really gentle warrior one variations. So come toward the front of your mat so you have stepping back room. And take your right foot back. You want your feet a few inches apart, like standing distance apart. And the left toes are looking forward. The right foot is turned out slightly. Do a test bend of your front knee to see how much you can or should bend it. Two different things. And then let's say, take your arms crisscross over your chest. And since our left leg is in front, take our left arm on top, left arm on top. And then as you inhale, bend your front knee and open your arms like into a goal pose. And as you exhale, straighten your front leg and simultaneously wrap your arms so it looks like this in front. Wrap them around your chest. Inhale into warrior one. Exhale, wrap the arms, keep the left one on top, drop your chin down, head to neutral as you bend your knee, open your arms. Exhale, bring it back in. And last time, bend the front knee or not. Take your arms out into cactus. And then if you want to bring your arms into the more traditional warrior one, you could take them up. If you have an arm injury as opposed to a hip injury, maybe you just want to have your hands low. So you could do whatever you like with your arms. Warrior one is a back bend. If you're feeling that the back bend is sitting in your low back, you can angle your spine forward a little bit if that feels better. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, straighten the leg, come all the way up, pause, and take as many steps as you need to get your right foot up. Usually that's pretty smooth for me, but I'm a little unsteady. Just notice how you feel. You might feel really weird because we did one side of a pose and not the other. So let's even that up. Take your left leg back. So you're opening up your legs like scissors, except there's unlike a scissors, there's space between the two blades. Right foot forward, left foot back. So we'll do the crisscrossing arm thing. You take your right arm in front this time. And here, when you're ready, you're going to inhale, bend the knee, and open your arms into a goal post. Exhale, straighten the leg, bring the arms, wrap them around you, drop the head. And do this a few times. You could do it without the arms. Don't force the knee to bend any more than is appropriate for you. Don't let the knee jut out over your toes or past your toes. Keep the movements nice and smooth, nice and easy. You can do them really super slow motion. The next time the leg is straight, pause. We're going to hold, as opposed to going in and out, we're going to hold it. Remember, you can always bring your feet closer if you feel you need to. You can bring your feet further away. You can bend a knee less or more. So your choice, especially when we hold warrior one, we want to be comfortable in it. So make sure your low back, my low back tends to look curvier than it is because of my proportion. So just make sure you're not like this. You know, you want to keep your belly gently moving in. It is a back bend, so your spine is going to arch, which is great. If that doesn't feel too good, or if back bending is not your thing, you can kind of do it a little more like a forward bend, an angle forward. That's a perfectly legit way to experience warrior one. And then when you're ready, straighten your front leg from hip to heel, lower your arms, step the back leg up, and pause. We're going to come back to a warrior one stance, but we're only going to do it to do a standing twist, which is fun. And then we're going to come back to where we were. So let's take the right leg back again. Right leg back, left leg forward. And we're not going to prepare. We're just going to come right into warrior one. Bend the front knee, lift the arms up. Now to take the twist, you're going to twist to your front leg side. Inhale here, and as you exhale, spin your upper chest, your shoulder girdle toward the left. And when you do that, lower your arms, because you don't want to have them up in the air there. It's not comfortable. You can take them wide as if you're holding a ball. That could feel nice. If you'd rather have your arms straight, you could do that. I like to hold a ball. Keep drawing your left hip back. And even though our inner thighs, we're not trying to literally get them to touch, think about the inner thighs squeezing toward each other. Take one or two more breaths here. Notice that the twist might feel a little freer since we did a couple of twists before, not this kind. Unwind your spine, release your arms, straighten the front leg, take the back foot forward. You take a breath here. Then we're going to do the warrior one twist combination on the second side. I like this side better because then my front leg, this is my better knee. Left leg back, right foot forward. And when you're ready, come into warrior one. Get yourself settled into warrior one, into a good position for you. And then inhale. And as you exhale, keep your hips quiet, but revolve your spine toward your front leg and lower your arms. You can hold the beach ball. You can have your arms just at rest. Do whatever you like and energetically squeeze your inner upper thighs toward the midline. And also think that your outer hips, you can even give them a little push just to signal that those muscles are drawing toward the midline for this posture. Take one or two more breaths here. And when you are ready, straighten the front leg from hip to heel, release the twist, arms down, and the back foot up at the same time or separately. And then just come to standing into Tadasana. Pause for a few breaths here. So hopefully you feel evened up. We're going to make our way back to the mat. We're going to do a few nice loving movements and then Shavasana. If you wish to come down through downward facing dog, you can do that. I could start you on that, but I can't put my knees down to come to child's pose, which is one of my favorite things, but not working for me now. So you could fold forward. You can come to downward facing dog if you like that. And then from here, for child's pose, your knees come down and you bring your hips to your heels. You can certainly do that, but I'm going to bypass that and come forward, turn on my outer edges of my feet, and just as gently as possible, land my butt down and come to a seated position. Feel free to take a few breaths in downward facing dog before you come down. Once you're down, get a hold of, and you don't absolutely have to have this for the move, just so you know, but if you have anything, including a tie or a belt, not one with a hard buckle though, like if you have like a terry cloth rope belt, have that handy. And because we're going to come to lying down and then we're going to end up in Shavasana eventually, gather around whatever you want to have for Shavasana. A pillow, couple of pillows, a banky, your favorite stuffed animal, your dog. I'm kind of disappointed that Albus just came in and just literally hightailed it right out of here. And then when you're ready, come to lying down. You do not have to have a blanket under your head unless you don't want your earpiece to come out. And have the strap handy and lie on your back with your knees bent. Knees bent, feet on the floor, strap within reach or not. Now from here, draw your right leg toward you, and if you have a strap, take it over the bottom of your foot closer to the heel than the toes, and not right in the middle of the foot where the arch is. You could really dig in there. And then keep your other foot bent, your other leg bent and the foot on the floor, and stretch your leg out on an angle. Ideally, for the stretch and for the lengthening aspect of this pose, it's better to have your knee straight, not locked, but straight. So if your knee is, let's say, if you bring it up here, if it's really bent like that, I mean, it may have to bend if you have an injury, but if your knee is bent here when your leg is vertical for the pose to feel a little more beneficial. Take your leg further away. And if you're really flexible and can bring your leg further back than your hip, don't do it for this because it doesn't really help the stretch. So remember, the leg straight if you can. Don't force it straight. It could be horizontal or it could, vertical, or it could be on an angle. And then hopefully you have a strap that's long enough that allows you to bring your elbows and your arms down. So you're not torturing your arm. And then micro bend your knee if you need to. Flex your ankle, heel toward the sky, toes toward your nose. That's like a nice stretch in the back of your calf, right? Good. Then just back off that, take a breath. We're going to add some different pieces. Heel away from you, toes toward your nose. Good. And now from here, do a small turn of the leg to the right. And when I say turn, I don't mean bring it out to the right. Like, let's say your toes are, you can see the top of your foot looking back behind you. When you turn it, you can bring the strap to the right hand, and now your toes are looking past your right shoulder. Notice how the stretch might no longer be in your calf. It might be on the outer side of your leg. Good. Back off that. Keep the strap. We're going to bring the leg up again, but just pause for a moment and rest with the back of your leg either resting on top of the other knee or in front of it. And just do some ankle turns here. What you may want to do spelling activity. This is good to get your ankle moving in with different ways. Spell the word learn in capital block letters. Learn. It feels very silly. And then let's do one more thing on that side. Take the leg out first. See where you can find it comfortably straight, or if it needs to be bent, that's okay too, but straight is more efficient for the stretch. Relax your arms. Flex your ankle, so toes toward your nose, including the pinky toe side. Sometimes that side doesn't really want to come down. Heel to the ceiling. Then turn the leg out slightly. So you're moving the stretch more from the back of the leg to the outer thigh. And now we're going to bring it into the hip. Take your right leg, bring it over toward the left, and tip your left knee toward the right. So the knees are coming toward each other. Nice stretch for the outer hips. Take one more breath here. And then release that. And we're going to do that on the other side. And then Shavasana time. So take the strap on the left foot, closer to the heel and the toes. Stretch the leg out long and low. You could do the whole pose with the leg out on an angle. If you could keep it straight and bring it up a little higher, that's fine. Don't force the knee straight at all. If it doesn't work for you, flex the ankle. Heel up, 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 or heel away from you, toenails toward you. Pause here. Notice, by the way, this is also really nice for the back. Your back might feel very connected with the floor. And then back off for a moment. And then rinse and repeat, so to speak. Flex the ankle so the heel is moving away. It's going to go a little lower on the side. Toes toward the nose. And now we're going to add that little turn. You're going to take both ends of the strap to the left hand, and magically the stretch will maybe not be on your calf so much, but it might be on the outer leg. And that feels nice. And then before we do the last movement, bend the knee, keep the strap handy, and rest your leg on top of the opposite knee or in front of the knee, and spell the word. If you could just do random movements, or with block letters, spell the word peace. I say block letters because one time a student asked me, are we doing this in script? And actually, if you do it in script, you don't do as many movements as if when you're spelling in the capital block letters. And then let's do the last piece on the second leg. Bend the leg out. Make sure it's comfortable. You're not forcing the bend. The leg isn't higher than vertical, even if it can be. Flex your ankle, toes toward your nose. Feel away from you. Keep that. Good. Take the strap to the left hand and turn the left leg out a little bit. So now you're stretching it a different way. Really draw the pinky edge of that foot down. And last, more for the hips. Take the left leg over toward the right and tip your right knee over to the left, like the knees are kind of meeting each other in a sense. Squeeze your inner thighs toward each other and take 2 breaths here. And then slowly release. Bend the knee. Take the strap to the side. If by chance you didn't gather everything you want to have for Shavasana, do that now. And before you come to Shavasana, deep relaxation, if you want to draw your legs into your chest, you can do one at a time and then both. Again, this is not really working for me with my knee right now. So you could do whatever you like. You could take your legs up, spell something with your ankles. And then for Shavasana, you can come to lying on your mat. Pardon me. You can stack some of your blankets or pillows, place them at the lower end of your mat, and you can rest your legs on that. Make sure you have a blanket under your head, something to cover you. I'm not going to join you in Shavasana. I mean, I'll be here with you, but I might fall asleep and I'll be snoring. So just make sure you're super duper comfortable. So this was not, a vinyasa class, not a vigorous class, but yet we covered all the bases. We did the key movements for our body. We did our back bending, we did forward bending, and we did twisting in different orientations. We did spelling, so that was pretty great. And we also did some nice standing activities to get ourselves moving a little in a different orientation. And then we closed with some nice stretches. We did the supported back bend earlier in the class. We covered a lot of ground. So now let yourself go in any way that you can, knowing that you did a very beneficial practice and hopefully you behaved and you didn't force yourself to do anything you shouldn't. And now you're just going to get cozy and get still. Close your eyes like soft curtains and just surrender in any way that you can. Maybe take a big sigh. And let go of something somewhere that way. Invite your shoulders to let go and your head to be heavy. And not only heavy because our heads are really heavy, but imagine all the stuff you carry. And it doesn't have to be bad stuff or like worries or things like that. It could be great stuff like your wonderful wisdom, your wonderful, wonderful knowledge, but still that's heavy. It takes up a lot of space. So just let your head and your wisdom and all the stuff you carry in your head, on your shoulders, on your back, just let that drip down toward the floor, go through the floor, down as many flights you need to get to the base of your house or apartment building, and let all that heaviness just seep into the earth like raindrops, and allow yourself to be heavy in the sense that you're releasing your weight, but also light, and that you're releasing your troubles and even, again, the good stuff, not just the bad stuff. And now you can let your nervous system fully kick in, the part of your nervous system, the part of the nervous system that helps to heal wounds or injuries, that aids in digestion, the same things that go on when you're sleeping. Invite that part of the nervous system to do its thing while you do absolutely nothing. Let your head be heavy. Your breath be easeful. Soften your jaw. Release your unspoken words. Surrender to stillness. In a few moments, I'll guide you out of Shavasana, but remember, this is your practice, so enjoy it. Take a longer Shavasana, really, we didn't do that long. We only have an hour class, so the Shavasana isn't that long. So feel free to stay in Shavasana, mute the sound of the video, and just stay there and enjoy a longer piece of stillness, a longer piece of solace and ease. But if you are ready to start making your way out of Shavasana, do so with small movements, stretching your limbs, maybe drawing your thighs into your belly and giving yourself like a full body hug with the arms wrapped around your legs. And then ease over to either side and rest on your side. I encourage my students to take at least one breath on the side so it's not just back side up flip. And you can stay lying on your side or come up to a seat that is comfortable for you, whatever works. And if you'd like to join me in closing, feel free to draw your chin down to your chest, to bring your hands to your heart center, or join your hands and bring your prayer hands to your heart center, and to bow your head. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. In your heart, in the holidays this season, keep the peace within your heart and invite that peace to be shared all around the world where it's most needed. Namaste. Thank you so much. I wish you a happy holiday season and a nice segue into the new year.